When you think of Robert De Niro, you probably picture his intense performances in films like Taxi Driver, Raging Bull, or Goodfellas. But what if I told you that De Niro is also secretly a comedic genius? And what if I said one of his funniest performances is hidden in a film most people have never seen? That film is Midnight Run, a 1988 buddy comedy that blends action, humour and heart in a way that still feels fresh today. Directed by Martin Brest, the man behind Beverly Hills Cop, Midnight Run didn't get the recognition it deserved when it was released, but in this video I'm going to break down why this hidden gem is one of the most underrated comedies of the 80s, why you have to watch it if you haven't already, and how it showcases a completely different side of De Niro. Right, let's talk about the plot. Midnight Run stars Robert De Niro as Jack Walsh, a world-weary bounty hunter. Walsh is hired to bring in Jonathan Mardukas, nicknamed The Duke, played by Charles Grodin. Mardukas is an accountant who embezzled $15 million from a mobster, Jimmy Serrano, and skipped bail. Walsh's task is simple: get Mardukas from New York to Los Angeles within 5 days to collect a $100,000 reward. But of course it's not that easy. Along the way they're being chased by the FBI, the mob, and a rival bounty hunter. The film quickly turns into a fast-paced road trip filled with action, comedy, and a surprising amount of heart. Before we dive further into why Midnight Run is underrated, let's talk about how this movie came together. Released in 1988 and directed by Martin Brest, Midnight Run was written by George Gallo. Gallo based the film on his experiences with law enforcement and his love for buddy comedies. Initially, Paramount Pictures passed on the movie because they weren't sure if audiences would accept De Niro in a comedic role. Luckily, they changed their minds, and the rest is history. Robert De Niro was mostly known for his dramatic, intense roles at the time, but he was interested in branching out into comedy. His casting as Jack Walsh created the perfect balance of seriousness and humour. To play Mardukas, they cast Charles Grodin, whose deadpan improvisational style clashed, sometimes literally, with De Niro's more serious approach on set. The film had a budget of $30 million, a significant amount for a comedy at that time. Part of the reason for this was the decision to shoot on location across the United States. Instead of relying on sound stages, director Martin Brest wanted the film to feel like a true cross-country road trip, and this meant filming in real locations like New York, Chicago, Las Vegas, and even the Arizona desert. These locations not only give the film authenticity, but they also add to the sense of adventure. One of Midnight Run's biggest strengths is its balance between action and comedy. Unlike many buddy comedies that rely on slapstick or over-the-top gags, Midnight Run gets its humour from the characters. Walsh is a cynical, hardened bounty hunter, while Mardukas is a neurotic accountant who just won't shut up. Their personalities clash and the result is hilarious. The action in Midnight Run is also surprisingly well done. It's not just about big explosions or shootouts, it's about how the action serves the story. Whether it's a train escape or a car chase or a helicopter chase, the stakes always feel real, and the humour is always right there in the middle of the chaos.
You think we lost him?
I don't know, I don't see anything.
Oh, I'm sure we're completely safe.
The supporting cast also deserves a mention. Dennis Farina as mob boss Jimmy Serrano is both hilarious and menacing. Yafet Koto as the straight-laced FBI agent and John Ashton as the rival bounty hunter add even more depth and comedy to the film. And let's not forget Joe Pantoliano, who plays Eddie Moscone, Walsh's fast-talking and slightly sleazy bell bondsman. Pantoliano's performance is another comedic highlight, with his high-energy, panicked reactions perfectly contrasting De Niro's calm, stoic demeanour.
Yelling and screaming, telling me to go fuck myself. You're telling me that everybody's telling me to go fuck myself.
And finally, I can't talk about Midnight Run without mentioning the fantastic soundtrack. This score was composed by none other than Danny Elfman, who's famous for his work on The Simpsons, Batman, and many Tim Burton films. Elfman's soundtrack perfectly complements the film's tone with a jazzy, upbeat vibe that adds to the energy of the chase scenes while still grounding the emotional moments between the characters. Interestingly, Charles Grodin's improvisation on set sometimes frustrated De Niro, but it also added to their on-screen chemistry. The tension between the two characters often felt so real because it was real. Grodin would throw in lines or actions that De Niro wasn't expecting, and it resulted in some of the film's funniest, most natural moments.
You guys are the dumbest bounty hunters I've ever seen!
Despite its critical acclaim though, Midnight Run never reached the same level of fame as other 80s comedies like Ghostbusters or Ferris Bueller's Day Off or even Beverly Hills Cop that Martin Brest directed. One reason could be that it doesn't really fit neatly into any one genre. It's part comedy, part action, part drama. This mix might have made it harder for the studio to market. Another reason is De Niro's casting. In 1988, audiences were used to seeing him in intense, serious roles, so the idea of him in a comedy might have thrown people off. But what they missed was De Niro's brilliant comedic timing. He plays it straight throughout the movie, which makes the interactions between him and Grodin even funnier. The film also had tough competition at the box office. Released in the same year as Die Hard and Coming to America, it didn't have the same mass appeal. But that genre blending is exactly why Midnight Run has aged so well. The comedy feels fresh and the action still holds up today. Midnight Run was generally well received by critics upon its release in 1988. It currently holds a high rating on Rotten Tomatoes, often hovering above 90%, indicating widespread critical acclaim. Reviewers praised the film's blend of action and comedy as well as the chemistry between De Niro and Grodin, which became the highlight of the movie. Critics largely agreed that the strength of the movie lies in its lead performances, and De Niro was praised for stepping out of his comfort zone, transitioning from his serious roles to play a comedic yet emotionally complex character. Charles Grodin's understated deadpan humour balanced De Niro's intensity, which added depth to what could have otherwise been a typical odd couple comedy. Commercially, Midnight Run performed moderately well. It had a production budget of approximately $30 million and grossed around $81.6 million worldwide. While this was a respectable return, it didn't achieve the blockbuster status of other major films released in 1988, such as Die Hard or Coming to America, which may have overshadowed its presence at the box office. One reason for the moderate commercial performance could be attributed to its genre-bending nature. Midnight Run doesn't neatly fit into one category. It's a blend of action, road movie, comedy and drama, which made it more challenging for the studio to market. Unlike the straightforward comedies or action films of the late 80s, its unique genre mix may have made audiences unsure of what to expect. Despite the moderate box office returns, Midnight Run has since gained a really strong cult following, and many fans now consider it one of the best action comedies of the 80s. Audiences particularly responded to the genuine chemistry between De Niro and Grodin, with many noting how their performances made the film feel authentic and heartfelt rather than forced or overly comedic. Much of the film's audience appreciation grew through home video rentals and cable TV broadcasts. It became a staple on channels that featured 80s and 90s classics, giving it a much wider audience after its initial theatrical run. This helped boost its legacy as new viewers discovered the comedic talents of De Niro outside of his more dramatic roles. The cult status of the film is also supported by the praise for its supporting characters. Dennis Farina's mob boss character, Joe Pantoliano's anxious bail bondsman, and Yaphet Kotto's exasperated FBI agent have all been noted as scene stealers, contributing to the film's enduring popularity. The film's success in building a following is largely thanks to its authentic character interactions and the balance of humour and sincerity. The scene in which Jack Walsh visits his ex-wife and daughter has been frequently highlighted by audiences as one of the most touching moments of the film, adding emotional depth and showing a side of De Niro's character that resonates with viewers on a personal level. Its lasting appeal has earned it a dedicated audience, and today it's regarded as a hidden gem, well worth the time for anyone who enjoys a well-crafted buddy comedy with depth. If you haven't seen it yet, do yourself a favour and watch it. Trust me, you'll wonder why this movie didn't become a bigger hit. Everyone's going to like it. Your mother, your father, your girlfriend, your boyfriend. It's one of those movies. I've never met anyone who's not actually liked this movie when they've sat down and watched it. If you enjoy this video, don't forget to like and subscribe and leave a comment about your favourite underrated movies below, and I look forward to seeing you guys all in the next one.